say Donovan Mitchell is the best?
No, he's not better. He's not better than Donovan Mitchell. Put him behind Donovan Mitchell.
Okay.
No, he's not.
I think he's better than Donovan Mitchell.
What makes?
Well, I know you do, but
yesterday Chill said he wasn't. So
I said I'm on record. Donovan Mitchell's the best two guard in the game.
Yeah,
I'm on record.
what changed in one day?
I'm on record.
Yeah, he's not better than Donovan yet.
This season, how is he not better this season?
Okay, so Donovan Mitchell having the career year that he's having this season, even better than last season. Donovan Mitchell would be a lot better in terms of his assists if guys would actually make open shots, because he's created a lot more open shots for guys. He's make a lot better these 2 years that he's been in Cleveland than he ever did when he was in Utah. He's actually, I think he's second in the league in steals. That's better than anything that he did that's better than anything that he did when he was in Utah. Not only that, scoring the basketball, he's been a better scorer, which is better than anything that he did when he was in Utah. And he was already in the conversation with Devin Booker as the best two guard in the game when he was in Utah. And he's actually better in Cleveland. I think Donovan Mitchell is the best two guard in the game.
You're giving me everything about Donovan Mitchell being compared to himself. Why are we not comparing Donovan Mitchell to Anthony Edwards, who made a leap to put him on that level? I asked this yesterday. What's making these guys better than Anthony Edwards? And people are just telling me what they did compared to their previous version of themselves a different year. We had the conversation about Devin Booker.
Okay, first of all, Dom, I don't have to make the argument.
We look at Devin Booker last year. Booker last year was averaging career highs, and now this year he's averaging the same thing, so he's still great. What does that have to do with Anthony Edwards, who is averaging better numbers, who are literally on their level this year? That's what I'm asking. How is
a legit two-way player.
And legitimately on their level this year. How is he not better?
And absolutely is a legit two-way player. So is Donovan Mitchell. He plays on the defense side of the basketball too.
So a legit two-way. You're telling me Donovan Mitchell?
Hey, second in the league.
That might be the most egregious thing you've ever said.
Is he the same? As I was saying,
trust me, it's not top five.
Is he the same defender that Anthony Edwards is? No, he isn't.
No, but he is. No one will ever consider Donovan Mitchell a two-way player. To do that, you have to be a net positive on that side of the floor. There's no way. I refuse to believe. I mean, we got to watch a lot of film. He came in.
Okay, first and foremost.
In college, he was a two-way player, but in the NBA,
he came into the league as a defender. He came into the league as a defender.
Being a defender in college is, and at the end of the day, it's about team defense. That's what matters. But it's so much easier to defend in college. The same reason why he's not a good defender in the NBA is the same reason why he's a better scorer in the NBA than he was in college. Space. You have to guard more space. He cannot guard at a high level without a guy in the gap sitting heavy where that space used to not be in college. You don't have that help in the NBA. I wouldn't classify. Maybe we have different definitions of what can qualify you as a two-way player. I'll give that benefit of the doubt, but I don't think that Donovan Mitchell falls into what I know we got
to get going, Ron, but wait a minute.
That's my bad.
I know we got to get going, Ron, but wait a minute. The fact that he had Rudy behind him, the fact that he now has both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen behind him, the space that he needs to cover, he does cover that. He's a lot more in passing lanes today. He's actually a better on-ball defender than what he was in the past because he has a guy in Evan Mobley. He has a guy in Jared.
On that team, he was one of the worst defensive impact metric guys in the league in that Jazz team. When he's on the floor, he impacts his team negatively because at the end of the day, there's all these bells and whistles around it, context, this and that. The biggest thing is when you're on the floor, does a team score less points than when you aren't on the floor?
Correct.
And Donovan Mitchell has been poor at that historically through his career.
So you brought up Utah, but this season, that's not the case. And Evan Mobley's actually been out of the lineup more this season than he was last year, when he also was really good on the defensive end. Same thing with Jared Allen. He's now been in the lineup, who's helped them out a lot more. And the team defense, the schemes that they run, which they do run a lot of switches, which helps Donovan Mitchell out being in the passing lane, which helps Donovan Mitchell out and he's actually been a better rebounder this year too, which I also dig about him. The fact that he's been a better rebounder. The idea that him with Anthony Edwards, and I'm not going to argue, Damo, that Anthony Edwards is a better defender because I do think Anthony Edwards is a better defender. But I feel like the gap between him being a better defender and Donovan Mitchell is not huge, but I do think that there's a gap there. But in terms of scoring, I think Donovan Mitchell is a better scorer today. I think he's just as good an athlete as Anthony Edwards is, even today. And I think he can score in a more variety of ways. Plus being a defender, I think he's the best two guard in the game. Hold on, before we go any further, Damo, that's the point. And if you heard me, what did I say about Anthony Edwards in the next 2 years?
You got him in MVP conversations.
No, that's in the next 3 years. In the next 2 years, where do I have Anthony Edwards?
Best shooting guard in the league.
I think he's undisputed. I just don't think he's there yet. That's where
I'm not gonna say he's the best shooting guard because I think Devin Booker's the best shooting guard in the league. But I think the leap Ant took this year made him second. I got him, and maybe it's just because of lack of games that because of the availability from Donovan Mitchell. Which, if that's the case, that's the case. But I'm just on a statistical basis, they are producing at the exact same level this year.
We're just looking at different stats, bro.
What stats are you looking at?
The advanced
all of them. That's the point. I'm looking at all of them. I'm looking at net rating. I'm looking at boxes finals. I'm looking at EPM. I'm looking at value replacement. I'm looking at the defensive metrics. I'm looking at
Donovan Mitchell clear him in that category, in those categories.
Anthony Edwards?
Yes.
He's a much better offensive player than Anthony Edwards right now. And Anthony Edwards is a much better
I'll
defender.
give you one much. I don't know about 3 muches though. I'm just playing, bro.
The thing is, like without the context of the players you're playing around, like how much does a stretch big like Karl-Anthony Towns help more than having a not stretch big like Evan Mobley? How much is Evan Mobley suddenly starting to hit threes help? Right? There's all these things. How much does playing a weaker schedule matter? Do you know what I mean? Like Donovan Mitchell played a really weak schedule through most of his super hot heater, where he started to garner a lot of attention. The East is weaker than the West. The average team in the West is like way stronger. And the fact that Anthony Edwards is the best.
Nope, I'm not doing that.
But it matters, man. If 65 to 70% of your games are against better competition, like how much worse? Like you think about it this way. The Houston Rockets right now, right? We talked about Houston Rockets going to be real good, right? Houston Rockets would be firmly in the playoffs if they were in the East.
Oh, facts.
Why?
Facts.
100%. They would be like top 5 seed eligible.
The East isn't what it. I will concede that the East is.
So that's what I'm saying. If you I watch Fred VanVleet make an All-Star team because he stat padded like a crazy person against like these really bad teams that were coming in depleted because Canada had all those COVID restrictions and whatnot. So what I'm saying is who you're playing matters a lot. And if you're playing a stronger schedule all the time, if you're playing with weaker teammates, it matters. If you're playing in an inoptimal,
I'm not saying.
I definitely think Donovan Mitchell is better, but I'm saying it's not a huge gap, and I do think Anthony Edwards will bridge that gap within a couple of years for sure. Okay. So I'm taking the middle road on this. I am, however, saying that yes, Mitchell is a better player offensively.
But is he playing a easier schedule?
He is playing an easier schedule, but even when you play against the West, his numbers hold up. That's what I look at. Like for me, it's like the biggest red flag is a player who gets most of his big games against the worst teams. Mm-hmm. If your biggest like to me, like I'm looking at a guy and I'm like, okay, you averaging 32 points per game against the Pistons, but you averaging 12 points per game against the Denver Nuggets. Big red flag. So I look at Donovan Mitchell and I say Jamal Murray is another one where it's like bigger game, bigger moment, bigger game. Like I like those guys. Anthony Edwards is a big game guy too. So that's sure. I think they're both really good players, but I do think personally I like them both more than Devin Booker. But that's just me.